Alright, what's up everybody, it's Kami, and I'm very confused on a lot of things right now. So I was sitting here talking to Caleb a couple days ago about how stuff in JoJo doesn't make sense, right? This is just shit that happens like literally all the time. We always will have like a random JoJo conversation and it always ends up resulting in, wow, this makes no sense. And recently him and X-Forza did a collab video talking about plot holes and just things that don't really make sense and kind of just don't add up in Stardust Crusaders, so you can go to their channels and check those out. But we were talking about a couple of things, right? And we're just going over Stardust Crusaders, like me and him before he started like doing the video or whatever, I guess. We talked about a couple of things that just don't make sense, right? And okay, first off, you can shrink stands, right? It's something that they kind of just are supposed to quote unquote naturally be able to do in Stardust Crusaders. They do it like once, all right. But then there's a couple other things that just don't make sense here, like how does Iggy make a clone of Dio when he hadn't seen Dio? Stuff like that. It just doesn't add up. But we're not here to talk about Stardust Crusaders. We're here to talk about JoJo as a whole not making any fucking sense. So like we go to part 4, right? Jotaro tells Josuke that he can't bring back dead people, but technically Joseph was dead and Jotaro got blood into his system and pumped his heart. So it's like, I mean, I guess Crazy Diamond couldn't fix him because he's dead because the stand isn't able to. But if you can use your stand to pump somebody's heart and revive them, right? Because it's basically just a way of them. That's what Jotaro did to revive Joseph. It doesn't make any fucking sense. He literally revived him by pumping his heart, and he had the blood flowing into his system and all that shit. So why couldn't Josuke do it? And at least once he was getting his blood pumping back into his body, and maybe then he could use Crazy Diamond and completely heal his grandfather. Instead, we just have the grandfather die for no reason. It doesn't make any sense to me, all right? And there's always people that bring up Dio with the coffins at the end of part 1. The most sense, I guess, is just that they have 2 coffins. I mean, Dio shows up in one, but then there's only like the one that we see that's in the boat. But then Dio's coffin specifically says Dio on it, and we see the Arena escaped on a coffin in the ocean when the boat blew up. So she's fine, she like escapes with Lisa or whatever, but that was like a normal ass coffin. That wasn't the Dio coffin. Dio's coffin specifically says Dio on it in like gold on the front of it. So there was 2 coffins in that. So a lot of people ask that question a lot, and that's pretty much my only answer to that. And then if we look at Giorno in the very beginning of Vento Ario, there's a fight where he fights Black Sabbath, which is a very cool looking stand, but the stand had a stand arrow and it stabs Giorno right with the stand arrow, and it stabs like gold experience, but we don't get a gold experience requiem right away, even though the whole thing of gold experience requiem was you keep the stand arrow stabbed against you or whatever, your stand for like quite a bit of time, and then it would transform and get the new form. And of course Giorno would have been ridiculously OP if he had gold experience requiem at the beginning, but they also would have had a different ability because his ability would have been based on fighting Black Sabbath, since that was the current situation. But he has the arrow in there for quite a while. I mean, it's kind of on there for like a couple of panels, and again, it could be something where it's just drawn that way and it's not really there for too long, and it's something that maybe will get fixed when the anime comes out and we'll be able to, I don't know, see it better since it's moving and it's in a movement. But they could still just animate it so that, hey, maybe this isn't going to be on the screen for as long as you would think it is, or as long as it looks in the manga. But it doesn't make any sense as to why nothing happens to the stand, or there's no change or cosmetic change in Giorno or anything, because it's like Black Sabbath had a stand arrow and it was supposed to change the stand, but then it didn't. But then it should have also just at least unlocked a new ability, kind of like how Bites the Dust happened to Kira, where he got pricked by this by the arrow, and then his stand got a new ability and it got the next. That doesn't make any fucking sense. And I'm sorry if I sound like I'm stuttering and murmuring a lot. It's just some of these things, you start speaking them and you say them out loud after thinking about it for quite a while, and it doesn't add up. So you gotta get a little bit lost, and it doesn't make sense. Try to make sense with this with me. All right, down in the comments, there's probably gonna be a lot of things that I'm forgetting to mention, but I want y'all to go down there and tell me a couple other things in JoJo that you think don't make sense. I'm trying to figure some stuff out. There's no answer for it, man. What? And here's another thing me and Caleb discovered. I tweeted a clip on Twitter, which you guys can follow me at Google. But I tweeted a clip of Jotaro fighting Dio because it got brought back up from somebody else that was talking about it. And I'm like, I love this fight. It's like super crazy, super wacky shonen stuff, and it's really awesome. But Dio rapid punches and like rapid kicks Jotaro through like a building and stuff, and he flies out. But when he punches him, right, it specifically like slows down and like freeze frames, and then we get these shots of Jotaro's bones breaking. Like he breaks several of the dude's bones. Like I'm pretty sure he breaks like an arm, a leg. He breaks like his ribs and stuff. He like body bags all his bones, right? But then he gets back up after that and continues fighting like there was nothing that happened. There was no injury there, despite getting all of his bones crushed. And then Caleb came in and reminded me, and we started talking on Discord. He's like, hey, you know that Dio did the same thing to Jonathan, right? In the very first fight when he becomes a vampire in the mansion, and the mansion is on fire, when they're falling down the chimney, you know, he does a goodbye JoJo.
Goodbye, JoJo!
He crushed his bones in both of his arms, but Jonathan was still able to use his arms, and he was still able to grab him and hold him. And given Jonathan at least had bandages and stuff after the fight, when he was at the hospital with Ariana and Speedwagon, he had bandages and stuff around his body and his arms. And it kind of happens also in part 3 when Joseph gets injured. He has bandages on his body, but I don't remember seeing any bandages on Jotaro. And he took probably the most amount of damage, sustained the most amount of damage out of the whole entire group, aside from the people that died. Polnareff took a lot of damage too, and Polnareff had severe damage to his legs, and you know, his legs got fucked up. And that's why he was in a wheelchair in part 5 later on. But Jotaro got hurt really bad, and he didn't have any bandages that I can remember of. So what happened there? How was he able to move without his bones? And that's when me and Caleb came to the conclusion that Joestars are boneless. They indeed just do not suffer any damage to the bones. I mean, Jonathan was able to just tank having his arms fucking broken, and he's still able to hold onto this gigantic vampiric bastard that's falling with him down a chimney, nonetheless, which he ends up, you know, surviving somehow, throwing the belt and then pulling Dio down with him, and then he gets Dio impaled on the statue, and he gets out and he escapes and he heals. Jotaro kind of just gets his bones broken and continues fighting like nothing happened. And then Jolyne is also boneless, which has more to do with her stand. To me and Caleb talking, but he brought up the fact that Jolyne is able to reconstruct and rebuild parts of her body using stone free, since it technically is made out of string, and she's able to turn herself into string, which is very true. She could reconstruct and, you know, take apart her hand and then reconstruct it back. She was able to turn herself into string when she was escaping from the prison cell to go through prison bars and escape from her cell and, you know, run from the police guards. Because we see her using this ability of stone free when she's fighting Pucci at the Kennedy Space Center, when he uses gravity from Cebu to invert her like hand in, right? And by the way, sorry if I sound a little nasally, I've been sick with the flu for the past week. That's why I haven't been uploading videos, guys. I'm just a little dying, so bear with me. But Pucci used gravity to completely invert her and make her hand go inside out, which she responded to by turning her body into string so that she would no longer go inside out, because he was going to eventually, you know, pull all of her organs out probably and kill her like that. But she was able to turn herself into string. She could have wrapped up Pucci with stone free and killed him like that, because if she were to turn her body into string like she did then, and the first time that she fights Pucci, right, when she fights Pucci outside of the jail, before like Foo Fighters dies, and that fight, if she would have turned into string, right, and been boneless for a second, right, if she turned boneless, then everything would have been okay, because she could have wrapped up Pucci's hand with the string, stopped him from chopping anybody, you know, giving you the boy hand of death, because then he would have ended up hurting himself and cutting off his own arm or his own hand or something, or yada yada, and then she could have killed him right there and then, and she could have beat him without having anybody else killed. But she could have also probably done the same thing at the Space Kennedy Center, and instead they tried to have Jotaro stop time, and then everybody just kind of got killed one by one. But although Pucci was moving super fast and it was very hard for them to counter, she still can turn her entire body into string. So why didn't she turn herself into string, wait for the exact moment that she felt Pucci brush up against the string, which given would have been very difficult, could have still been feasibly possible, with air quotes, right? We'll say that maybe it was possible. I'm just taking a guess, but she could have done that, and she could have killed him and saved the universe from getting destroyed, and potentially her father and her friends, instead of having everybody die. These Joestars just don't make sense, man. And she can make an infinite rotation with her body. Her body was spinning. She can spin her body with the string. So technically, if she knew what spin was, in theory, she would also have the infinite rotation, and she would have a perfect spin. So technically, she's beating Johnny JoJo. That's just some crazy shit. JoJo doesn't make any sense. If you guys think JoJo makes any sense, I don't know. Some things do, some things really don't. I mean, seriously, I still get stuck up over the whole Dio clone with Iggy thing. Iggy hadn't seen Dio Brando before. How did he know his exact shape of his body and stuff and make him out of sand? That doesn't make any sense, but it's JoJo. We can't have everything be perfect. You can't expect every single piece of a story to make perfect sense. Some things just, you know, it's anime or whatever, it's a manga, but some things are just very, very weird, man. And that's something to say about JoJo. If something's weird in JoJo, then it's very weird. But anyways, if you guys are new to the channel, I'll be uploading Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays again, starting next week with, of course, this being the Friday upload. Excuse me. But yeah, I'm back. So stay tuned for that. I will end up doing the Crash Bandicoot 3 video, but that'll just be like a different video during the week. I have my footage for that and all that. I just have to sit down and edit it. But I wanted to go ahead and put this JoJo video out since a lot of you guys have been asking where I've been. You know, a lot of people are like, yo, did Kami die or anything? I'm partially dead. You can probably still hear that I'm very like nasally and stuff. I'm still pretty sick, but I'm not as sick. I had the flu, so I was kind of, you know, out of action. But we're good. Uploads are back on track. If you're new, subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed it, and again, if there's anything that you guys think doesn't make any sense in JoJo, say something about it down below in the comments. We can go ahead and have discussion. Comments are always open for discussion. I don't mind it. I actually like reading the comments and seeing these discussions happen and, you know, give my input here and there. People ask me questions, things like that. You guys get the gist of it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.